The fall of Eloria. Eloria had always been a jewel in the galactic tapestry. Towering crystalline spires shimmered under the light of 3 suns. The sky, a pale lavender, rippled with floating gardens where the gentle-winged Thalen tended to their flora. Music resonated through the atmosphere, harmonized by bioengineered winds. No world in the known universe matched its grace or its peace. And then the sky screamed. High above, in the still silence of orbit, black shapes unfolded from warped space. Unmarked, silent, unnatural. They moved like predators with purpose, not ships, but living weapons. Their surfaces crawled with iridescent scales, and within their bellies, something writhed. The Council of Species was in session when the alarms rang. Chancellor Tevro of the Elorians, a crystalline being of translucent blue, stood frozen in the center of the grand chamber. All 13 seats around him flickered with holographic presences from allied worlds. The aquatic Ushkai, the hive-minded Orzith, the cybernetic lore. Unknown vessels have breached our defense perimeter, Tevro said, his voice warbling. Emergency measures activated. A transmission hijacked the chamber's audio feed. It wasn't in any known language, and yet every being present felt it. Not in their ears, but in their minds. It was hunger. Pure, ancient, all-consuming hunger. They are the Vorgulon, muttered Elder Ksh of the Orzith, her segmented body twitching. Extinct. They were supposed to be extinct. The Lord Delegate, all wires and data streams, responded coldly. Then the extinction failed. Within hours, Eloria burned. The defense grid disintegrated first, eaten alive by swarms of bioplasma. Vorgulon seed ships descended into cities like falling stars. The impact craters oozed a thick black sludge that moved against gravity, coiling through streets, seeking life. Civilians screamed. Parents clutched hatchlings, or held each other as the sky cracked open. Buildings twisted under alien growth. Some defenders fought back, projectiles, energy beams, pulse cannons, but it didn't matter. The swarm adapted. They learned. They consumed. Chancellor Tevro watched as his home disintegrated around him. On the central tower's broadcast deck, he activated the ancient emergency beacon, a device unused in millennia. Its signal pulsed once across the local star cluster, then again across the Orion Bridge, then finally beyond the galactic arm. To the edges, to the fringe, to the old stars. We are under attack, Tevro spoke, his voice tight with desperation. This is Eloria. The swarm has returned. I repeat, the Vorgulon have returned. We are falling. We beg for assistance. Please, if anyone is listening, help us. No answer. The Council, scattered across their worlds, responded with the silence of politics. The lore transmitted protocol lines. Intervention violates neutrality, Edict 47C. The Orzith, divided in thought, retreated into internal consensus. The Ushkai mourned in whispers, sending no fleet. Eloria's final city, Salenta, was overrun 12 hours later. In a temple of light glass and song, a group of Elorian children huddled beneath a collapsed dome. The oldest among them, barely past adolescence, tried to hum the calming chords of their ancestors. But even that tradition failed them. Their choral notes were drowned by the rising shrieks of the swarm. And then, static. Far away, in the vacuum between star systems, a deep space listening outpost registered a flicker of non-standard communication. Hidden behind the far side of a dead moon, it had not been active for decades. The signal passed through 16 firewalls, awakened 4 artificial minds, and pinged a dormant channel marked Terran High Alert, Exodus Class. On Earth, buried deep beneath Antarctica, an ancient comms terminal blinked to life. The voice of Chancellor Tevro echoed once again. We beg for assistance. Please, if anyone is listening. In a steel-walled command bunker, a woman with sharp eyes and graying temples listened in silence. Around her, other Terrans gathered, scientists, generals, civilians. The message ended, hanging like ash in the air. She turned to the room. Anyone else answer? No one, came the reply. The woman, Admiral Natalia Reyes stood slowly. Then we will. But Admiral, someone asked hesitantly, the swarm? That's not our fight. They didn't even call us when we were burning. Why should we? Because they begged, Reyes said simply. Because no one else did. And because we remember what it felt like when no one came for us. She looked back at the screen. The children. The fire. The pleading eyes of beings so alien, yet unmistakably afraid. Prep the choir, she said. The galaxy wants mercy. Let's show them what that means. Humanity's grim answer. The Iron Choir stood in silence as Admiral Reyes walked the length of the deployment deck. The name was Old Iron Choir, a ceremonial term for Earth's elite rapid response division. The ones sent when diplomacy had failed and the galaxy needed a message written in steel, fire, and sacrifice. Soldiers, engineers, medics, hackers, and pilots, all united by one thing. The willingness to walk into hell when no one else would. Reyes faced them. Her voice was hard as frost. Eloria has fallen. A murmur ran through the soldiers. They had seen the footage already. Burning spires, screaming civilians, the swarm consuming everything in its path. Still, hearing it from the Admiral hit differently. No one else answered the call. No alliances. No aid. No fleets. Nothing. She let that silence settle. Every boot on the floor stood still. Every breath held. We're not going to Eloria for politics. Not for minerals. Not for influence. We are going because they begged and no one else listened. Her fist clenched. We remember Earth before the fires. When cities drowned in ash and the world turned its back on us. We clawed our way out. Alone. Never again. She pointed to the screen behind her. It showed the remnants of Eloria's outer colonies. Half-dead moons, bioscars on atmospheres, orbital rings torn to bone. The swarm thinks they can do this to anyone. They think kindness means weakness. They are wrong. The room responded with silent intensity. No cheers, just grim nods, tightening grips on weapons, muttered prayers. The Iron Choir didn't celebrate war. They just did it better than anyone else. In orbit over Mars, the TSS Vindicator, Earth's Dreadnought-class command ship, fueled for jump. Inside its war core, AI protocols reactivated after a decade of peace. Mercy Protocol, Wrath subroutines, and archive trigger units came online. The ship pulsed with life, not artificial, not biological, something forged in between. Like Earth itself, each drop pod was loaded with multi-environment exosuits. The armor looked like ancient Terran myth, angular, brutal, faceless. Not designed to impress. Designed to survive what killed everything else. As the Vindicator powered up, news feeds across Earth flared with debate. Why help aliens who ignored us during the Carbon Wars? Shouldn't we stay out of galactic affairs? Is this another Terran crusade? But under it all, the comments turned. They cried out for help. We answer. We were monsters once. Maybe it takes one to kill another. Go show them what mercy looks like with a Terran flag on it. Admiral Reyes sat alone in her quarters. The room was stark. No medals, no pictures, save one. Her son, David. 16. Lost in the frontier skirmishes with rogue pirate enclaves 3 years ago. She remembered the sound of his last comms, too much like the Elorian transmission. She closed her eyes. The swarm didn't take him, but monsters like them had. A knock interrupted her silence. Colonel Jaden, her second-in-command, entered. A former gang enforcer turned decorated officer. Scarred, blunt, loyal. They're ready, ma'am. Final prep complete. Reyes stood. Good. Initiate full burn. I want boots on the ground within 72 hours. He nodded, then paused. We're going to lose people. I know. Some won't come back. I know that too. Then why go, really? She looked at him. Her eyes were tired, but unflinching. Because we know what happens when monsters go unchecked. And because if we don't show them that mercy fights back, no one will ever believe in it again. 3 days later, the Iron Choir arrived in the ruins of Epsilon Tau 4, a colony world that once fed Eloria's vast cities. Now was silent. Orbit was littered with derelict transports, their hulls ruptured by bioacid. The ground below writhed with tendrils, black, oily, pulsing with life. Recon drones buzzed through the atmosphere. One caught the remains of a cathedral dome crushed under alien biomass. Inside, a nest of bone and mucus cradled hundreds of cocoon bodies. Some still moved. Admiral Reyes stood in her drop cruiser as it descended through the clouds. "All choir units, confirm atmospheric breach," she said through comms. One by one, the voices came. Choir 1, ready for drop. Choir 2, locked and loaded. Choir 3, scanning biomass signatures. Weapons green. Choir 4, prep to burn. She closed her helmet. "Then let's show them the price of mercy." As her boots slammed into the ground, the sky above turned red with the glow of descending fire. The iron choir hit the surface like the wrath of gods forgotten. The first shot wasn't a warning. It was a promise. The iron choir marches. The first few days on Epsilon Tau, forward chaos. Not the kind born from panic, but the organized brutality of war. From orbit, the planet still shimmered in patches, oceans of molten emerald and forest belts intact in some regions. But where the Vorgulon had landed, the ground festered. Entire continents now pulsed like tumors, reshaped by the swarm into birthing pits and hive towers that screamed with alien wind. The Iron Choir did not scream. They moved with precision, platoons of armored Terrans carving paths through biomatter-infested jungles. The ground squelched beneath them. Strange bones crunched underfoot. Creatures with too many limbs and no eyes rushed from tunnel mouths in waves, shrieking, slashing. They died by the hundreds. Plasma rifles roared. Flamethrowers hissed. Drones zipped through alien clouds, dropping micromines and kinetic rods that cracked the very earth. Each impact echoed with fury born of loss, of memory, of every unanswered cry for help Earth had ever suffered. Corporal Juno Lin, call sign Ghost Hound, stood over the charred remains of Swarm Beast 3 stories tall. Its chitin shell still steamed where her team's high-frequency blades had torn through it. "They're adapting," she muttered, watching as Green Goose squirmed from its wounds and tried to form legs again. Sergeant Vask, the team's heavy gunner, didn't hesitate. He dropped an incendiary grenade into the twitching mass. It went still in fire. "Good. Means we're hurting them," he grunted. Nearby, an Elorian child cried softly in the arms of a human medic, Private Mora. The girl's crystalline skin was cracked, half her face bruised from being dragged through rubble. Mora didn't speak the child's language. She didn't need to. She offered a ration bar and water, crouched low, and waited. The girl took it, cautiously, then more eagerly. Juno watched the moment unfold. Brutality on one side, gentleness on the other. That was the choir. Iron and compassion carried side by side. The real horror lay underground. Beneath Epsilon Tau's surface, the swarm had built the breeding depths, sprawling tunnels laced with mucous membranes, pulsating with heat and pheromonal signals. Here, the air itself was poisoned to most known species. But humans? Humans wore sealed suits and brought fire. Commander Idris led the breach into the deepest hive complex. A hardened veteran of the Terran frontier wars, Idris moved like a predator, his power armor dull black, hands steady on a flamethrower. Weapons live. Ventilation purge activated. "No one dies in the dark today," he said calmly. The tunnel walls came alive as they entered. Masses of organ skin slithered back, revealing hundreds of drones with fangs like needles. They charged. Idris didn't flinch. He opened the flame, and behind him, his unit followed. The tunnels lit up like hell's furnace. They didn't fight fair. They fought human, using sonic pulses to rupture the drone's inner ears, deploying micro-explosives in places no other species dare to crawl. They carved a swath of death all the way to the birthing chamber. There they found them. Dozens, maybe hundreds, of cocooned refugees. Mostly Lorian. Some others too. Phelan, Ari Core, even one cybernetic lore still flickering with dying data. Some were dead. Some still blinked. Idris knelt beside a cocoon and pressed his gauntlet scanner to the soft flesh. A heartbeat. Slow. Faint. He touched his comm. Vindicator. "This is Choir, Dagger 7. We have survivors. Multiple species. Initiating extraction. The hive roared then. A psychic backlash rippled through the cavern. A scream of rage from something far deeper. Queen's aware, Idris said. Time to burn. Above ground, the choir redeployed. Reyes now commanded over 40 choir units spread across 3 major front lines. Casualties had begun to mount. Snipers dragged into biomass. Medics killed defending civilians. Still, they pushed on. At dusk, the sky turned black as a new swarm rose. The Vorgulon had released airborne predators, winged bioforms with acid glands and sound nullification skin. But Earth had anticipated escalation. From orbit, the Vindicator fired its payload. Kinetic rods the size of skyscrapers punched through the atmosphere like lightning. No explosions, no fire, just sudden, absolute silence where the swarm once flew. The blast radius was measured in kilometers. The death toll for the swarm? Incalculable. Reyes watched from a forward command tent, her face illuminated by the glow of real-time holomaps. The red dots were thinning. Her people were winning. And yet, she frowned. Where's the queen? She murmured. Something this coordinated doesn't operate without a central node. Colonel Jaden stepped beside her. Recon says she's not on this planet. Reyes narrowed her eyes. Then this was bait. Later that night, as choir medics tended the wounded and built shelters for refugees, a quiet fell over the camp. An Elorian elder, once a dignitary on their council, approached Reyes. You came when none did, he rasped. Why? Reyes looked at him, then past him, to the field of alien corpses, to the stars above, where so many worlds still watched in silence. Because someone had to, she said, and because you cried out for mercy. The elder's crystalline hands shook. And you brought this? Reyes turned her eyes on the burning horizon. No, she said. We brought justice. Mercy is not weakness. The sanctuary world of Thesma floated on the edge of destruction. Once a lush haven of peace treaties and refugee councils, its skies now boiled with black Vorgulon clouds. The planetary shield, designed only to deflect solar flares and micrometeoroids, crumbled under biological artillery. Spore storms fell like acid rain. Orbiting habitats were darkened, their life signs extinguished. Across the galaxy, governments debated. Councils drafted emergency evacuations. Discussions circled endlessly around defense votes and strategic delays. But no fleets moved, except one. The Terran Armada emerged from hyperspace like the reawakening of an old god. Not sleek diplomatic cruisers. Not cautious observers. Warships, thousands of them. Hammerhead carriers. Dreadnoughts with solar reactive plating. Frigates shaped like daggers. The Vindicator, scorched from the Epsilon campaign, led them all like a broken sword still sharp enough to kill. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. Any other response fleets in system? She asked coldly. No, ma'am, came the reply. Galactic Council channels have gone dark. Reyes nodded once. Then this is our world to save. On Thesma's surface, panicked alien refugees huddled beneath makeshift bunkers. Children cried, elders prayed, and wounded soldiers from half a dozen species stared blankly at their own useless weapons. Then the clouds above parted. Terran drop pods rained down like a storm of vengeance. The Iron Choir hit the ground with seismic force. Flamethrowers ignited spore fields. Heavy armor units stomped into infested zones, pulse hammers and railguns spinning like windmills of steel. AI-guided drones cut through swarm flyers like flocks of angry birds. But this time, it wasn't just soldiers. Humanity had brought their whole fury. Doctors and engineers dropped alongside infantry, setting up mobile triage units under fire. Civilians who had volunteered, former gangsters, ex-cons, even street racers, now ran med-evacs, built barricades, and fought hand-to-hand when they had to. Thesma's defenders, already resigned to death, stood stunned. A young Thalen medic with shredded wings looked up at a Terran soldier dragging 3 wounded aliens into a shield shelter. Why are you doing this? She asked, her voice trembling. The soldier looked at her, blood and ash on his face. Because you're not alone anymore. In the northern hemisphere, the queen of the Vorgulon finally revealed herself. She was massive, taller than buildings, coiled in obsidian plates that shimmered with sickly green. Her mind lashed across the planet in psychic pulses. Drones surged toward her. She screamed not with sound, but with thought, a fury that made lesser species vomit or faint. Reyes personally led the charge. Mercy Protocol. Active, she ordered. A countdown appeared in every iron choir HUD. 60 seconds. The queen hesitated. A tremble rippled through her horde. For the first time, the swarm was given a choice. A single voice, Reyes, echoed across all open channels, translated into a dozen languages and psychic bandwidths. You brought death. We brought justice. But still, we offer you this one chance. Withdraw, disarm, leave, and live. The queen answered with a wave of darkness. Spawning pits erupted, and every remaining hive mind surged at once. The countdown hit 0. Humanity answered. The final battle of Thesma was not a clash. It was a slaughter. The Iron Choir advanced through collapsing cities and alien trenches, clearing every structure one by one. Orbit-to-ground plasma strikes eliminated entire nest zones. Tactical nukes were deployed in underground tunnels. The Vindicator's orbital cannon struck the queen herself, staggering her long enough for a Terran war mech to drive a tungsten spear straight into her skull. When it was over, nothing moved in the hive except smoke. The galaxy held its breath. In the days that followed, Earth refused interviews, awards, and political forums. They did not broadcast victory. They buried the dead, Elorian, Phelan, human, side by side, wrapped in the same fireproof cloth. At the heart of Thesma, on the former battlefield that had become a makeshift memorial, survivors gathered. Admiral Reyes stood before them. We were not your first choice, she said. You never called us to your councils. You never asked for our help. She let that hang in the silence. But when you begged for mercy, we came. Not because we were welcome, not because we were wanted, but because someone had to stand between you and the dark. She turned to a small Elorian girl in the front row, the same child who once cowered beneath rubble. Now she stood proudly, wearing a choir emblem on a sash. Reyes knelt and handed her a folded Terran flag. This doesn't mean we are perfect, Reyes said quietly. But it means when no one else comes, we will. Years later, Eloria would be rebuilt, not as a capital, but as a sanctuary open to all species. In its new central plaza stood a towering statue. A Terran soldier kneeling, helmet off, offering a water flask to a wounded alien child. Etched beneath it, in every known language. When we beg for mercy, only humans answer the call.